But we went in the ambulance to hospital, and I knew straight away how serious it was. So he was unconscious in the road, and I could tell from the way the ambulance men were behaving that it was a really serious thing. And one of them said on the radio, "We've got a bad one here," he said. And the ambulance men were really kind. They sort of gave me little jobs to do. They were cutting his clothes off, and they were showing me how to put the sort of suction pads on, and the ambulance man said, "Keep talking to him, love, keep him with us." So I just kept talking. I didn't think I'd start crying this early in the story, because the point is, this isn't even the bad bit, you know. I don't want to be mean about anybody that helped us, but I don't really remember any proper or robust advice about.
The problem from my point of view with that, of course, is you're never entirely certain. You always think, well, it's just possible they'll make a better recovery than I think. So the question then becomes one of how many bad results justify one good result.
But I suppose people don't really know about the prognosis, or that was definitely... All we ever really got, I felt, was people saying, "Oh, well, nobody knows." And maybe nobody knows, you know.
They say this is one of the most difficult decisions you're ever going to have to make in your life, but you know your loved one, I don't. I'm quite certain that if we treat them, they may die anyway, but if they do survive, they're going to be left profoundly disabled. Now, what that exactly means is often hard to predict, but we're not just talking about being partially sighted or having a weak leg. We're talking about a profound change in their personality. They probably won't be able to talk or think properly. They'll be totally dependent. I can't predict exactly in what way. And the question you have to ask yourself is, would they want to be like that? Would they want to survive in that condition? I don't know the answer to that. You probably do, because you know them. And if you put the question to the family that way, you'll get an entirely different answer from if you say, we can operate, but they'll be left very disabled.
Denial and hope are the only two things that you can rely on to help you try and keep a positive attitude, really. And so that you just have to hope, because you have no idea, and no one ever tells you with brain injury, there's no definitive diagnosis. All they say is it was big, it was severe, but the brain does strange things. The first 6 months really count, the first year really counts, and things drag on, and people lose, well, you lose the opportunity to be able to sit down with the right kind of people to try and discuss it properly.
One does need to have some feel for what happens to many people with severe brain damage. And I think on the whole, neurosurgeons become increasingly conservative as they get older. I think we'll find young, new consultants are much more enthusiastic about treating everybody than people my age.
Maybe 2 or 3 hours, the surgeon came out and said, I've operated on your son. I've saved his life. I don't know whether I've done right or wrong. And that was his exact words. And we didn't know then what we were going to learn over the next 8 years.
There are moments when you think you know where you're going. She comes off the ventilator and you think she's breathing for herself, or the neck brace comes off and you think her back isn't broken. You know, you're meant to come out of intensive care and slowly but surely get better, and it's just not how it happens always. I followed her into long-term care homes, and you just see all these people with catastrophic brain injuries. They've been knocked off their motorbike or their bicycle, or been in a car crash, or been skiing, and some of them are vegetative with no awareness, and many more, I think, are minimally conscious. You can tell they can hear some things, they know something, and it's just like nothing you've ever imagined.
Even though I know that the chances of him recovering meaningfully are next to none, there is always some sort of hope that maybe he can. And that's part of what drives you every day. Otherwise, if you didn't have any hope, I don't think you could do it. Because on the days that I don't feel hope, I want to run away. But I could never leave him there.
So I do his shaving, and but when he was in the general hospital, he wasn't in showers or anything. So all the stuff had to be done, like I'd actually soak one foot at a time and clip his nails and give him a foot massage and that kind of thing. And so you would be there for hours. You'd be there for hours trying to get him sorted, you know.
Unseeing eyes. I found that really difficult. And when it got to the point where, when he eventually went into a nursing home, and I didn't really visit after that, I couldn't visit anymore, which I still feel so guilty about. But it was his open eyes I didn't want to see.
We don't get any reaction really from, unless he's physically distressed, unless, you know, his chest is at him or something like that. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's experiencing. I don't know anything about it, and just not knowing. You feel okay. I don't think he's in pain, and that's very important, of course. I just would hate to think of him being afraid or lonely. And I can't tell how he's feeling. I had no problem the last 2 years fighting for him, because he's worth it. He really is worth it. But I don't know if it would have been better if he had died on that day. I can't say.
So I was travelling a lot when it happened, and if it had happened the week before or the week after, I would have been away, so he would have died. Because I wouldn't have found him till many hours later. But it happened on the week when I was around, so I did. And you think, oh, thank God.
And how could I have ever lived with myself if I'd come home and found him dead? But now you can't help but wonder if that would have been the better outcome.
You know, you're left with sort of shock, and there's something just so perverse, isn't it, about loving somebody and then wanting them dead? That is the horrible bit of this. One that you know, those first few acute days where everything's in the hands of the doctors and they're on intensive care ward and they look pristine and, you know, white bandages and crisp white sheets and beepers and the monitors. And I suppose in a sense it's out of your hands. If somebody could die in that phase where it's white and clean and beeping machines, I think that would be kind of easier.
Be 2 or 3 hours, the surgeon came out and said, I've operated on your son, I've saved his life, I don't know whether I've done right or wrong. And that was his exact words. And we didn't know then what we were going to learn over the next 8 years.